In the sun-scorched city of Cyrene, where the Mediterranean kissed the shores of North Africa, lived a man named Simon. He was no scholar or priest, just a farmer with hands toughened by years of breaking soil and harvesting grain. Yet his heart burned with faith. Every year Simon left his small farm, his wife, and his 2 young sons to trek across deserts and seas to Jerusalem for the Passover. This time, as he slung a worn sack over his shoulder and kissed his family goodbye, he felt a strange pull, as if this journey would be unlike any other. Jerusalem buzzed like a hive ready to burst. Pilgrims crowded the streets, their voices a symphony of prayers and haggling merchants. The air smelled of roasted lamb and incense, but beneath the festival's joy lurked a shadow. Whispers darted through the alleys. A man named Jesus, a healer and teacher, had been seized by the Romans. Some said he was the promised Messiah. Others branded him a rebel. Simon overheard the rumors as he walked toward the temple, brushing them off. He was here for worship, not whispers, but the city's tension clung to him like dust. On that fateful morning, Simon stepped into the street, his sandals crunching against the stones. A distant clamor stopped him, a mix of shouts, sobs, and the heavy thud of soldiers' boots. Drawn like a moth to a flame, he followed the sound until he reached a swelling crowd. There he saw it, a line of Roman soldiers, their spears gleaming, escorting a man who could barely stand. Blood streaked his face and a massive wooden cross bowed his shoulders. Simon's breath caught. This was Jesus, the man from the rumors. The crowd churned around him, a storm of grief and scorn. Some wept, clutching their robes. Others jeered, spitting at the condemned man. Simon stood frozen, his eyes locked on Jesus' struggle. Then a voice sliced through the chaos. "You, farmer!" A Roman centurion, his face scarred and hard, jabbed a finger at Simon. "Take his cross, now!" Simon's heart pounded. Him? Why him? He was just a passerby, a stranger in this city. But the soldier's glare left no room for refusal. Trembling, Simon stepped forward. The cross hit his shoulder like a thunderclap. Rough and splintered, it tore at his skin, its weight dragging him down with every step. Simon gritted his teeth, his farmer's strength tested as he followed Jesus up the dusty path. The crowd pressed in, their cries ringing in his ears. Ahead, Jesus stumbled, his body frail from beatings. Simon saw the raw wounds, the sweat mingling with blood, and felt a pang he couldn't name. This wasn't just wood he carried, it was something far heavier. The road twisted upward, each step a battle against the cross's pull. Jesus walked beside him, silent but steady. Then as they neared a rocky bend, Jesus faltered, nearly falling. Simon shifted the cross to steady him, and their eyes met. In that fleeting moment, Jesus rasped, "Thank you, friend. Your burden eases mine." The words struck Simon like lightning. Gratitude. From a man marching to death? His throat tightened and he managed only a nod, but those words seared into his soul. They reached Golgotha, a barren hill crowned with death. The soldiers yanked the cross from Simon's shoulders, shoving him aside. He staggered back, his arms throbbing, and watched as they stretched Jesus across the wood. The hammer's first strike rang out, driving a nail through flesh. Simon flinched, the sound echoing in his bones. The cross rose, lifting Jesus against a darkening sky. Simon couldn't look away, caught between horror and awe as the man he'd helped now hung in agony. Hours crawled by. The sun faded, the earth trembled, and Jesus' final breath hushed the crowd. Simon lingered, hollowed out by what he'd seen. When he finally trudged back to his lodgings, the weight of the day clung to him. Sleep eluded him. Instead, he replayed every moment, the cross, the words, the sacrifice. In the days that followed, he sought Jesus' followers, hungry for answers. They spoke of love, redemption, and a risen Savior. Simon listened, and slowly he understood. He'd been chosen for this. When Simon returned to Cyrene, he wasn't the same farmer who'd left. His hands still tilled the earth, but his voice carried a new tale. Around flickering fires, he told his sons and neighbors of the man whose cross he'd borne, whose grace had touched him. He'd been a nobody, a stranger in Jerusalem, yet he'd walked with Jesus in his darkest hour. That day on Golgotha had reshaped him and his story, a farmer's simple act woven into the greatest sacrifice, would echo far beyond his fields.